5 years had passed since the Korthak Empire disappeared. The galaxy was a very different place now. Crime had almost vanished. Wars between species had stopped. Trade routes were safe and peaceful, but the peace came with a price that most aliens tried not to think about. Dr. Sulbin Lee sat in her new office at the Human Galactic Research Institute. She was no longer working for the old Galactic Council. The council had been dissolved 3 years ago. Now she worked for humans, studying how different species fit into humanity's new galactic ecosystem. Her current project was observing human expansion patterns. What she found made her feel sick and scared at the same time. Humans were not conquering worlds like the old Korthak Empire had done. They were doing something much more sophisticated. They were creating what they called managed habitats for other species. On her computer screen was a map of Zentari space. 5 years ago, the Zentari controlled 12 star systems. Now they lived in 3 systems, but they were safer and more prosperous than ever before. How do you feel about the changes to your territory? Sulbin Lee asked Elder Vorth during a video call. Elder Vorth looked tired but not unhappy. Dr. Sulbin, my people have never been safer. We have no pirates, no wars, no dangerous predators. Our population is growing faster than ever before. But you lost 9 of your 12 worlds, Sulbin Lee said. We did not lose them, Elder Vorth corrected. The humans relocated us to better worlds. Our new planets have more resources and better climates. The humans keep the dangerous worlds for themselves. Sulbin Lee checked her files. The humans had indeed given the Zentari better worlds, but they had also made the Zentari completely dependent on human protection and trade. Elder Vorth, what would happen if the humans decided you were a threat? Elder Vorth was quiet for a long time. Dr. Sulbin, we have seen what happens to species that threaten humans. We will never be that foolish. In another part of the galaxy, Director Ye Jin-O was conducting the final meeting of what used to be called the Galactic Council. Only 12 species were represented now. The others had either been relocated, absorbed into human territory, or quietly disappeared. Ladies, gentlemen, and honored beings, Director Ye Jin announced, this will be the last official council meeting. The new Human Colonial Authority will handle all interspecies relations going forward. The remaining alien representatives sat quietly. They had learned not to argue with human decisions. A brave Zentari counselor named Vex Ra raised her hand. Director Ye Jin, what will happen to species that do not want to join the Human Colonial Authority? Director Ye Jin smiled kindly. That is their choice to make. But they will need to find somewhere else to live. This galaxy operates under human ecosystem management now. And if there is nowhere else for them to go, Vex Ra asked, then they will need to adapt or find new ways to contribute to galactic stability. Director Ye Jin replied, this is how evolution works. Species that cannot adapt do not survive. The meeting ended with all remaining species agreeing to join the Human Colonial Authority. They really had no other choice. Meanwhile, on the edge of human space, an alien anthropologist named Dr. Chira Vex was completing a secret research project. She belonged to a species called the Observers, who were experts at staying hidden and studying other civilizations. Dr. Chira had spent 5 years watching human expansion without being detected. What she discovered was terrifying. Humans were not expanding randomly. They were following a carefully planned pattern. They identified useful species and gave them better worlds in exchange for complete dependence. They identified dangerous species and eliminated them quietly. They identified useless species and simply ignored them until they died out naturally. The humans have turned the entire galaxy into a zoo, Dr. Chira wrote in her secret report. Every species exists only because humans have decided they are worth keeping alive. She had also discovered something else. The humans were planning for the future. They had detailed files on every species in the galaxy, including species they had not contacted yet. These files contained information about breeding rates, resource consumption, technological potential, and threat assessment. Each species was rated as useful, harmless, and problematic or threat. Species rated as useful got better worlds and human protection. Species rated as harmless were left alone but watched carefully. Species rated as problematic were relocated or restricted. Species rated as threat simply disappeared. Dr. Chira checked her own species in the human files. The observers were rated as problematic, high intelligence, low population, potential for espionage. She realized with horror that humans knew about her secret research. They had always known. They were letting her study them because they found it amusing. On Earth, Admiral Wu Jin Lee was reviewing the 5-year Galactic Management Report. The results were excellent from a human perspective. Galactic crime was down by 98%. Wars between species had stopped completely. Resource distribution was more efficient than ever before. Population stability had been achieved across all managed species. "Sir," his aide Captain Jinho Park said, "we have received a message from the observer species. Dr. Kira Vex wants to meet with you." Admiral Wu Jin smiled. "Tell her she can come to Earth. I'm curious to hear her conclusions about our management strategies." Dr. Kira arrived on Earth a month later. She was a small, gray-skinned alien with large eyes and delicate features. She looked nervous as she sat across from Admiral Wu Jin in his office. "Admiral Wu Jin," she said carefully, "I have been studying human expansion patterns for 5 years." "Yes, I know," Admiral Wu Jin replied. "Your research has been very thorough. What did you learn?" Dr. Kira was surprised that he knew about her secret project. "I learned that humans do not see other species as equals. You see us as animals in an ecosystem that you manage." "That is correct," Admiral Wu Jin said calmly. "Is this a problem?" "You have turned the galaxy into a reservation where you decide which species live and which species die," Dr. Kira continued. "Yes," Admiral Wu Jin agreed. "Before humans arrived, this galaxy was chaotic and dangerous. Species fought each other, constantly. Pirates and criminals terrorized peaceful traders. Dangerous predators threatened colonists. We brought order to this chaos." "But you brought order by becoming the ultimate predator," Dr. Kira said. Admiral Wu Jin thought about this. "Dr. Kira, every ecosystem needs an apex predator to maintain balance. Without apex predators, prey species overpopulate and destroy their environment. Other predators fight each other until everyone is weakened." He stood up and walked to the window. Outside, Earth's rebuilt cities stretched to the horizon. Humans became the apex predator of this galaxy because we were the most efficient at it. We do not rule through fear or cruelty. We rule through competence. "What about species that do not want to be managed?" Dr. Kira asked. "They are free to leave this galaxy," Admiral Wu Jin said. "But if they stay, they follow our ecosystem rules. This is not negotiable." Dr. Kira looked at her hands. "And my species? We are rated as problematic in your files." "Your species is intelligent and curious but harmless," Admiral Wu Jin replied. "As long as the observers remain peaceful and do not interfere with ecosystem management, you will be allowed to continue your research." "And if we do interfere?" Admiral Wu Jin's voice became very quiet. "Then you will be reclassified as a threat. I think you understand what that means." Dr. Chira left Earth with a message for her people. The observers would continue their research, but they would never again try to interfere with human activities. 6 months later, humans made an announcement that shocked the remaining alien civilizations. Director Ye Jin-oh stood before a gathering of species representatives. Behind her was a massive display showing the Milky Way galaxy. "Ladies, gentlemen, and honored beings," she began. "Human exploration has discovered intelligent life in the Andromeda galaxy. We will be sending diplomatic missions to make first contact with these new species." The alien representatives looked at each other with worry. They knew what human diplomatic missions really meant. "Director Ye Jin," a Zentari representative asked, "will you be sharing cultural information with the Andromeda species?" Director Ye Jin smiled. "We will be sharing the same educational materials we shared with you. We will teach them about galactic ecosystem management and help them understand their place in the larger universe." Sulbin Lee realized what was happening. Humans were finished with the Milky Way galaxy. Every species here had been catalogued, managed, or eliminated. Now they were ready to expand their ecosystem to include other galaxies. The message came from the edge of space. The Galactic Council had been waiting for this moment for over 200 years. A new species was asking to join them. The creatures called themselves humans, and they came from a small blue planet called Earth. Captain Jinho Park sat in his command chair on the Earthship Determination. His dark eyes looked at the huge space station ahead of them. It was bigger than any city on Earth. Lights blinked on its surface like stars. This was where the Galactic Council met. This was where they would decide if humans could join the galaxy's family of peaceful species. "Captain," said his communications officer, "they are ready for us." Jinho nodded. He had trained for this moment his whole life. Earth's best minds had picked him to represent humanity. But he felt strange about what he was going to show them. The files in his computer were not like what other species brought to first contact meetings. Inside the council chamber, Ambassador Bora Kim walked to the center of the room. She was small compared to the alien beings around her. Some looked like giant insects. Others looked like walking trees. A few looked like floating gas clouds with glowing eyes. They all watched her, with curiosity. The council leader, a tall being with purple skin and 4 arms, spoke in a voice that sounded like music. "Welcome, human. We are happy to meet your species. Please share with us your history, your art, your culture. Show us who you are." Bora looked at the data pad in her hands. She took a deep breath. "Thank you for meeting with us. I have brought files about every species we have met on our way here." She touched her data pad. A hologram appeared in the center of the room. It showed detailed information about the Zentari species, but this information was strange. It showed their weak spots, their daily routines, their fear responses, and how long they could survive without food. The Zentari representative made a worried sound. "Why do you know our heart rate during stress? Why do you know how we sleep?" Bora seemed confused by the question. "We observe everything we meet. This is normal for us." The hologram changed. Now it showed the Korthak Empire. The information was even more detailed. It showed their military formations, their weapon weaknesses, their breeding cycles, and their command structure. A small furry alien named Sulbin Lee stood up. She was the council's top expert on new species. "Human Bora, these files are very detailed. How did you get this information?" "We watched and learned," Bora said simply. "Every time we met your people, we studied them. We learned their habits, their weaknesses, their strengths. This is how humans survive." The room became very quiet. Sulbin Lee felt a cold fear in her stomach. "But why do you study weaknesses? Why not study art or science or culture?" Bora looked confused again. "Weaknesses tell us if something is dangerous. Art does not help us survive." Another hologram appeared. This one showed hunting patterns. It showed how humans had tracked and studied dangerous animals on Earth. It showed how they had learned to find and kill creatures much bigger and stronger than themselves. "On Earth," Bora continued, "we learned that everything is either food, danger, or useful. We group all living things this way. It keeps us alive." The council leader's forearms moved nervously. "And how do you see us, human Bora?" Bora was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "Most of you are not dangerous to us. Some of you could be useful partners. A few of you might become problems that need to be solved." The temperature in the room seemed to drop. Sulbin Lee whispered to the being next to her, "She talks about us like we are animals in a zoo." A military officer from Earth, Tai Min Choi, stepped forward. He was tall and moved like a fighter. His eyes never stopped looking around the room, checking for exits and threats. "If I may add something," Taemin said politely, "humans removed all dangerous predators from our planet about 50,000 years ago. We did this to make Earth safe for our families." "Removed?" asked the council leader. "We hunted them until they were all dead," Taemin said calmly. "Lions, tigers, bears, wolves. We killed them or made them afraid of us. Now they only exist where we allow them to exist. The alien beings looked at each other with growing fear. Sulbin Lee checked her own files about Earth's history. What she found made her hands shake. "Council leader," she whispered, "I am reading about Earth's ecosystem. Humans killed most of the large predators on their planet. They did not do this for food. They did this because these animals were competition." The council leader's voice was not musical anymore. It sounded worried. "Human Taimin, you killed other predators because they were competition?" "Of course," Taimin said. "Two predator species cannot share the same hunting ground. One must win, and one must lose. Humans always win." Bora pulled up another file. "We have also studied your military forces, your trade routes, and your population numbers. This information is in case we need to protect ourselves or our interests." "Protect from what?" asked a shaking voice from the crowd. "From anything that might threaten human survival," Bora said. "We do not know you yet. We do not know if you are friends or enemies, so we prepare for all possibilities." Sulbin Lee stood up again. Her fur was standing on end, which meant she was scared. "Human Bora, do you see us as threats?" Bora thought about this question. "Right now, no. You seem peaceful. You have been kind to us, but we will keep watching. If that changes, we will respond appropriately." "What does respond appropriately mean?" Sulbin Lee asked. Taimin answered, this time. "It means we will do whatever is necessary to protect human lives and human interests, just like we did with the predators on Earth." The room was completely silent now. The council leader's forearms were shaking. Sulbin Lee felt sick. These humans were not like any species they had ever met. Most species came to the Galactic Council with gifts, art, music, and stories. They shared their dreams and hopes. They talked about peace and friendship. Humans came with detailed files about how to hunt and kill everyone they had met. "Human Bora," the council leader said slowly. "Most species share their culture during first contact. You share tactical information. Why?" Bora looked genuinely puzzled. "Culture does not keep you alive. Information keeps you alive. We share what is important." She touched her datapad one more time. The final hologram showed Earth's history of war. It showed thousands of years of humans fighting each other. It showed weapons, strategies, and survival techniques. "This is our culture," Bora said. "For millions of years, everything on our planet tried to kill us. Other animals, diseases, weather, other humans. We learned to be better killers than everything else. This is what made us successful." Sulbin Lee realized something terrible. "Council leader, I do not think they see us as people like them. I think they see us as part of an ecosystem they are studying." The council leader asked, "What is an ecosystem?" "A place where predators hunt prey," Sulbin Lee whispered. "And they think they are the top predator." Bora heard this and nodded. "That is correct. In any ecosystem, there can only be one apex predator. On Earth, that is humans. In this galaxy, we will find out what that means." The first contact meeting ended with no agreement signed. The aliens needed time to think about what they had learned. As the humans left, Taimin said quietly to Bora, "I think they are afraid of us." "Good," Bora replied. "Fear means respect. Respect means they will not try to hurt us." The council watched the human ship leave. They had invited what they thought was a new friend to their galaxy. Instead, they had just met their new apex predator. 3 months after the first meeting with humans, strange reports began coming to the Galactic Council. Pirates who had terrorized space traders for decades were disappearing. Not just their ships, but entire pirate fleets were vanishing without a trace. Sulbin Lee sat in her office reading report after report. Her fur was gray with stress. On her desk were files about 23 different pirate attacks in the last month. All the attacks had one thing in common. Human merchant ships were nearby when the pirates disappeared. A communication came through her speaker. "Sulbin Lee, this is Captain Vorth of the Zentari Trade Guild. We need to talk." Captain Vorth appeared on her screen. He was a tall, blue-skinned alien with large eyes. Those eyes looked very worried. "Sulbin Lee," Something is wrong with the humans, Captain Vorth said. My cargo ships have been safer in the last 3 months than in the last 3 years. But the reason scares me. What do you mean? Sulbin Lee asked. The Red Claw pirates attacked my ship near the outer rim. 3 human merchant vessels were in the area. They did not help us fight. They just watched. But after the pirates took my cargo and left, the human ships followed them. Sulbin Lee leaned forward. What happened next? The Red Claw pirates never returned to their base. Their entire fleet, 37 ships, just vanished. We found pieces of their ships scattered across 4 different star systems. It looked like someone had hunted them one by one. Sulbin Lee felt cold. Did you ask the humans about this? I tried. A human trader named Yujin Han told me, pirates are bad for business. We solved the problem. When I asked how, she just smiled and said, very carefully. After Captain Vorth ended the call, Sulbin Lee opened more files. The same pattern was everywhere. Human merchants would arrive in a system. Pirates would attack other ships. The humans would watch and learn. Then the pirates would disappear forever. On the other side of the galaxy, something similar was happening on a colony world called Kepler 442b. The planet was home to peaceful farmers and miners, but dangerous predators lived in the forests. These creatures were called shadow cats. They were as big as ground vehicles and hunted in packs. For 50 years, the colonists had built walls and used sound barriers to keep the shadow cats away. Sometimes it worked. Sometimes entire villages were destroyed. Then humans arrived. Colonial Administrator Hyewan Jang was a small woman with quick eyes and steady hands. She looked at the reports about shadow cat attacks and made a decision that shocked everyone. We will not build walls, she announced to the Colonial Council. We will remove the threat. The alien colonists stared at her. A Zentari farmer named Kelm spoke up. Administrator Hyewan, there are thousands of shadow cats in the forests. They have lived here for millions of years. We cannot fight them all. Hyewan smiled. It was not a happy smile. We will not fight them, we will hunt them. She called for volunteers from the human colony ships. 23 humans answered. They were farmers, engineers, and teachers. None of them were soldiers, but they all knew how to hunt. Hyewan divided them into small groups. Each group studied the shadow cats for 2 weeks. They learned how the cats moved, where they slept, what they ate, and how they communicated. Shadow cats hunt in packs of 5 to 8, Hyewan explained to her team. They have excellent night vision but poor hearing. They mark territory with scent. They return to the same dens to breed. A human engineer named Dongwoo Nam raised his hand. So we find their dens during breeding season? Exactly, Hyewan said. We do not chase them. We wait for them to come to us. The hunting began at night. The humans did not use loud weapons or bright lights. They used patience and planning. They placed traps near breeding dens. They used the cat's own scent against them. They waited for hours without moving. When a shadow cat pack came to their den, the humans were ready. The cats never saw them coming. Week after week, the shadow cat population dropped. The humans kept detailed records. They marked each den on maps. They counted every dead cat. They studied the survivors to see if they were changing their behavior. Kelm, the farmer, watched in amazement and horror. How do they do this? How do 23 humans kill thousands of predators? Another colonist, a scientist named Dr. Yex, had an answer. They think like predators. No, they think like something worse than predators. They think like an extinction event. After 2 months, Hyewan made an announcement. The shadow cat population has been reduced by 97%. The remaining cats are too few to breed successfully. They will be extinct within 5 years. The colonists were safe, but they felt strange about it. They had lived with shadow cats for 50 years. Now the cats were almost gone, and it had taken humans only 2 months. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, pirate lords were having emergency meetings. The most feared criminal in known space was Captain Razortooth, a massive reptilian who commanded over 200 ships. The humans are hunting us, Razortooth hissed to his lieutenants. They do not fight like other species. They study us like we are laboratory animals. His second-in-command, a scarred alien named Vex, nodded. My sources say they have files on every pirate operation in the galaxy. They know our routes, our schedules, our weapon capabilities. How do they get this information? Razortooth demanded. They watch and wait, Vex said. They follow our ships but never attack. They record everything. Then they disappear for weeks. When they come back, they know exactly how to destroy us. Reports came in from other pirate leaders. The Black Nebula Syndicate had lost 60 ships in 1 week. The Skull Raiders had abandoned 3 star systems. The Void Reapers had simply vanished entirely. A surviving pirate told the same story everywhere. The humans do not fight fair. They do not fight with honor. They wait until you are weakest, then they strike all at once. They hunt you like an animal. Back at the Galactic Council, Sulbin Lee received a message from human merchant Eugene Han. The message was simple. Pirate activity in Sector 7 has been eliminated. Trade routes are now safe for peaceful commerce. Sulbin Lee checked the reports. Sector 7 had been controlled by pirates for over 30 years. Now it was completely empty of criminal activity. In 3 months, humans had accomplished what the Galactic Council could not do in 3 decades. She called the council leader. Sir, we need to discuss the human situation. They are changing the balance of power in the galaxy. How so? The council leader asked. They are not just traders or colonists, Sulbin Lee said. They are apex predators establishing hunting territories. Every system they enter becomes their domain. Pirates, dangerous animals, any threats, they eliminate them all. The council leader was quiet for a long time. Finally, he said, are they protecting the galaxy or conquering it? I do not think they see a difference, Sulbin Lee replied. On Kepler 442b, Yuan Zhang filed her final report about the Shadowcats. At the bottom, she added a note. Ecosystem balance has been restored. Human colonists can now expand safely. Recommend monitoring for new apex predator emergence in 10-15 years. Kelm the farmer read the report and felt confused. Yuan, you write about this like it is a science experiment. Yuan looked at him with surprise. It is a science experiment. We studied a problem, tested a solution, and achieved the desired result. This is how humans solve all problems. But you killed an entire species, Dr. Yex said quietly. We removed a threat to human survival, Yuan corrected. That is what apex predators do. We maintain the ecosystem by controlling which species are allowed to exist. The alien colonists realized something that made them very uncomfortable. The humans had not saved them from the Shadowcats. The humans had simply chosen them over the Shadowcats in the competition for the planet. They were safe now, but only because the humans had decided they were worth keeping alive. In space, the last pirate lord, Captain Razortooth, made a decision. He ordered his remaining ships to leave human territory forever. We are not retreating, he told his crew. We are surviving. The humans are not just another species. They are what killed all the other apex predators in this galaxy. We just did not know it yet. The hunting grounds were being established. Humans were deciding which species belonged in their new ecosystem, and everyone else was learning what it meant to be prey. Dr. Min Seo Kang smiled as she opened the first human galactic cultural exchange center. The building was beautiful, with large windows and bright classrooms. Alien children from 12 different species would come here to learn about humans. Human children would learn about alien cultures too. Dr. Min Seo thought this would help everyone understand each other better. She was very wrong. On the first day, a group of young Zentari students sat in a circle. Their teacher, a kind alien, named Professor Yila, wanted to hear human stories. Please tell us a story from your world, Professor Yila asked a human child named Sobin. Sobin was 8 years old. She had bright eyes and a big smile. I will tell you about Little Red Riding Hood. The alien children leaned forward to listen. They love stories. Once there was a little girl who went to visit her grandmother, Sobin began, but a big wolf wanted to eat them both. So the little girl had to think of a way to kill the wolf before it killed her. Professor Yila looked confused. Kill the wolf? In our stories, characters solve problems by talking or being kind. That would not work, Sobin said seriously. Wolves are predators. You cannot talk to predators. You have to be smarter and more dangerous than they are. She continued the story. The little girl tricked the wolf into opening its mouth wide. Then a hunter cut the wolf's stomach open with an axe. The wolf died and everyone was safe. The alien children looked scared. One small Zentari raised her hand. Why did they have to kill the wolf? Could they not just run away? Sobin shook her head. If you run away, the wolf will hunt other people. The only way to solve the problem is to make sure the wolf cannot hurt anyone ever again. Professor Yila felt sick. This was supposed to be a children's story, but it was about murder and violence. In another classroom, human children were playing games. A Zentari educator named Dr. Kelm watched them with growing horror. The human children played something called hide and hunt. One child would be the predator, the others had to hide. But the goal was not just to avoid being caught. The goal was to learn how to catch the predator from behind. Good job, Junho, called out their teacher, a human woman named Ms. Ara. You waited until the hunter was distracted, then you approached from his blind spot. That is exactly how you survive a real predator encounter, Dr. Kelm whispered to Ms. Ara. These children are learning to kill things. Ms. Ara looked surprised. Of course they are. How else will they protect themselves? Every human child must learn to identify threats, plan attacks, and execute solutions. This is basic education. In the mathematics classroom, things were even worse. The human teacher, Mr. Jae-sung Ryu, was giving word problems to mixed groups of human and alien children. If a pack of wolves has 12 members, Mr. Jae-sung said, and each wolf needs to eat 5 kilograms of meat per day, how much poison would you need to eliminate the entire pack in 1 week? The alien children stared at him in shock. A young Zentari named Pip raised her hand. Mr. Jae-sung, why are we learning to poison wolves? Because sometimes you need to eliminate threats efficiently, Mr. Jae-sung replied. If you fight wolves one at a time, some might escape and warn the others. Poisoning the pack's water source eliminates all threats simultaneously. A human child named Bo Young raised her hand. What if the poison affects other animals too? Good question, Mr. Jae-sung smiled. You would need to calculate the ecosystem impact. If other animals die, you need to determine if they were useful or dangerous. Then you decide if the trade-off is acceptable. Dr. Kelm felt faint. You are teaching children to commit genocide. Mr. Jae-sung looked confused. We are teaching children to solve problems. This is how humans have survived for millions of years. The worst discovery came when Professor Yila found human children's books in the center's library. She opened one, called The 3 Little Pigs. The story was about 3 pigs who built houses to protect themselves from a wolf. But instead of just hiding, the pigs in the human version planned to kill the wolf from the beginning. The first pig built a house, designed to collapse and trap the wolf. The second pig built a house with hidden spears that would stab the wolf. The third pig built a house with a chimney that led to a pot of boiling water. When the wolf came down the chimney, he fell into the boiling water and died horribly. The pigs lived happily ever after, the story ended, because they had eliminated the threat to their survival. Professor Yila found dozens of similar books. In every story, the heroes won by killing their enemies in clever ways. There were no stories about friendship, forgiveness, or peaceful solutions. Dr. Min Seo found Professor Yila crying in the library. Dr. Min Seo, Professor Yila said, these books are teaching children that violence is always the answer. Dr. Min Seo looked confused. Violence is not always the answer, but eliminating threats is always necessary. These stories teach children to think strategically about survival. But what about kindness? What about mercy? Professor Yila asked. Kindness is for friends and family, Dr. Min Seo said. Mercy is for creatures that are not dangerous. But if something threatens human survival, it must be removed. This is not cruelty. This is nature. Meanwhile, on the other side of the galaxy, the peaceful Zentari species was facing a crisis. An invasive plant called death moss was destroying their ecosystem. The moss ate other plants and released toxic gas. Zentari scientists had been trying to solve the problem for 10 years with no success. In desperation, they asked humans for help. Environmental specialist So Young Kwan arrived on the Zentari homeworld with a small team. She studied the death moss for 3 days. Then she called a meeting with Zentari leaders. The solution is simple, So Young announced. We will eliminate the death moss completely. The Zentari leader, an old alien named Elder Vorth, was hopeful. How will you remove it from our ecosystem safely? We will not remove it, So Young said. We will make it extinct. She explained her plan. The humans would create a biological weapon designed specifically to kill death moss. The weapon would spread through the moss population like a disease, killing every single plant. But what if your weapon affects other plants? Elder Vorth asked. We have calculated a 12% chance of collateral damage to native species, So Young said calmly. This is acceptable given the alternative. 12% of our plant life could die, Elder Vorth gasped. Yes, but 100% will die if we do nothing, So Young replied. We choose the option with the highest survival rate for the ecosystem. The Zentari agreed because they had no choice. The humans released their biological weapon. Within 6 weeks, every death moss plant on the planet was dead. The weapon had worked perfectly, but it had also killed 11% of other plant species. The collateral damage was within acceptable parameters. So Young reported to Elder Vorth. Your ecosystem is now stable and safe. Elder Vorth looked at the dead forests where the weapon had spread. So many plants are gone forever. Yes, but the dangerous plants are also gone forever, So Young said. This is how problems are solved. You identify the threat, calculate the most efficient solution, and execute it completely. Back at the Cultural Exchange Center, more disturbing discoveries were being made. Dr. Kelm found human children practicing something called threat assessment. During recess, the children would look at alien students and quietly discuss their weaknesses. Zentari have soft skin, one human child whispered to another. They would be easy to hurt if they became dangerous. Korthak are strong but slow, another child replied. You could not fight them directly. You would need to use traps or poison. Dr. Kelm realized the human children were not being mean or cruel. They were simply doing what came naturally to them. They were studying everything around them for potential threats and weaknesses. That evening, Dr. Min Seo called a meeting with all the alien educators. We have received many complaints about our educational methods, she said. I want to explain why human children learn these things. The alien educators sat quietly, waiting for an explanation. Human children do not learn to be violent, Dr. Min Seo continued. They learn to survive in a universe full of things that want to kill them. Every story, every game, every lesson teaches them to identify threats and eliminate those threats efficiently. Professor Yila raised her hand. But Dr. Min Seo, most things in the universe are not dangerous. Most species are peaceful. Dr. Min Seo nodded. Yes, most things are not dangerous, but the dangerous things can kill everything that is not dangerous. So we teach our children to find the dangerous things and remove them before they become a problem. You teach them to be predators, Dr. Kelm said quietly. We teach them to be apex predators, Dr. Min Seo corrected. There is a difference. Predators hunt for food. Apex predators hunt to control the ecosystem. War Chief Gorthak the Render was the most feared warrior in the galaxy. He was 3 meters tall with scales like armor and teeth like knives. His Korthak empire had conquered 47 worlds over the last 1,000 years. No species had ever defeated them in battle. Gorthak sat in his command throne looking at reports about the humans. His red eyes burned with anger. These small mammals think they are dangerous, he growled to his generals. They hide behind words and tricks. They are cowards who poison their enemies instead of fighting with honor. His second-in-command, General Vextor, nodded. The other species fear them, War Chief. But fear of humans is foolish. They are weak creatures with soft skin and small teeth. Gorthek stood up, his massive frame casting a shadow across the room. It is time to show the galaxy what real predators look like. We will attack their colony world and crush them. Then every species will remember that Gorthek are the true apex predators. He chose the human colony world called New Sol. It had 50,000 human colonists and very few military ships. It would be an easy victory that would prove humans were not as dangerous as everyone thought. 300 Gorthek warships moved toward New Sol. It was the largest battle fleet in Gorthek history. Gorthek was sure the humans would surrender, without a fight. On New Sol, Colonial Defense Commander Seong-ho Kim received the warning about the Gorthek fleet. He was a quiet man with gray hair and calm eyes. He had been a soldier for 30 years. Seong-ho called his staff into the command center. Marine Captain Yoonji Park was there, along with 12 other officers. They looked at the tactical display, showing 300 enemy ships approaching their world. "Sir," Captain Yoonji said, "we have only 15 defense ships. We cannot fight them in space." Seong-ho nodded. "We will not fight them in space. We will let them land." His officers looked confused. "Sir, if they land their troops, they will outnumber us 1,000 to 1. Another officer said. "Good," Seong-ho replied. "That means they will be confident. Confident enemies make mistakes." He opened a secure communication channel to Earth. "This is Commander Seong-ho Kim, New Sol Colony. I am requesting authorization for Doctrine Omega." The voice from Earth was quiet for a long moment. Then it said, "Authorization granted. Execute Doctrine Omega. May God have mercy on their souls." Captain E. Unji felt cold. She had heard of Doctrine Omega but never seen it used. "Sir, Doctrine Omega is not a battle plan. It is a species extinction protocol." "Correct," Seong-ho said calmly. "The Gorthek have chosen to be a threat to human survival. We will respond appropriately." 2 days later, the Gorthek fleet arrived at New Sol. War Chief Gorthek was pleased to see the human defense ships retreating. The cowardly humans were running away without even trying to fight. "Land all troops," Gorthek ordered. "Take the colony quickly. I want the humans to know they have been conquered by superior warriors." 200,000 Gorthek soldiers landed on New Sol's surface. They expected to find scared human civilians hiding in their homes. Instead, they found empty cities. "Where are the humans?" General Vextor asked. "They must be hiding in the mountains," Gorthek replied. "We will hunt them down and drag them out." But the humans were not hiding. They were watching. Every Gorthek soldier was being observed by hidden cameras. Every movement was being recorded. Every weakness was being studied. From underground bunkers, Commander Seong-ho and his team watched the Gorthek spread across the planet. "They move in predictable patterns," Captain Yoonji observed. "They set up camps near water sources. They follow the same patrol routes every day. They are creatures of habit." "All predators have habits," Seong-ho said. "We will use their habits against them." For 3 weeks, the humans did nothing but watch. The Gorthek grew bored and careless. They thought the humans had run away to other worlds. Then the real plan began. Human ships had been quietly following the Gorthek fleet when it left their home territory. These ships did not attack. They just watched and recorded. They followed the Gorthek supply lines back to their bases. While Gorthek was conquering New Sol, human teams were studying every Gorthek world, every military base, every breeding center, every command structure. Captain Yujin Han led one of these reconnaissance teams. She spent 2 weeks watching a Gorthek military academy where young warriors were trained. "Fascinating," she reported to Earth Command. "Gorthek children are separated from their parents at age 5. They are raised in group barracks. They learn to follow orders without question. This makes them effective soldiers but poor independent thinkers." Another team, led by engineer Dongwoo Nam, studied Gorthek breeding facilities. "Gorthek females lay eggs in communal nests," he reported. "All eggs in a facility mature at the same time. If you eliminate the breeding facilities during egg season, you eliminate an entire generation. Back on New Seoul, the trap was ready. Commander Seong-ho sent a message to War Chief Gorthak. War Chief Gorthak, the message said, I am Commander Seong-ho Kim. I am ready to discuss the terms of our surrender. Gorthak was pleased. The humans had finally accepted defeat. He agreed to meet with the human commander at the colony's main city. When Gorthak arrived with his honor guard, he found Commander Seong-ho waiting alone in the city square. Where are your people, human? Gorthak demanded. They are safe, Seong-ho replied. But I am afraid your people are not. Gorthak laughed. You are surrounded by my warriors. You have lost this war. War Chief Gorthak, Seong-ho said calmly, you have made a critical error. You think this is a war. This is not a war. This is an extermination. At that moment, Gorthak's communication devices began reporting disasters across the Gorthak Empire. Human ships were attacking 17 different Gorthak worlds simultaneously. But these were not normal attacks. The humans were not trying to conquer Gorthak territory. They were systematically destroying everything that kept the Gorthak species alive. Breeding facilities were being poisoned. Military academies were being bombed. Food production centers were being eliminated. Command structures were being targeted for assassination. What are you doing? Gorthak roared. We are solving a problem, Seong-ho replied. You decided to be a threat to human survival. We have calculated that the most efficient solution is to remove your species from the ecosystem, permanently. On New Seoul, the Gorthak soldiers suddenly found themselves trapped. The humans had not run away. They had been waiting underground, studying Gorthak weaknesses for 3 weeks. Captain Yoonji led the attack from the mountains. But this was not a battle. It was a hunt. The humans had learned exactly how Gorthak soldiers moved, how they thought, how they reacted to threats. Gorthak were powerful warriors when fighting other warriors, but they did not know how to fight an enemy that had studied them like laboratory animals. The Gorthak tried to retreat to their ships, but the humans had sabotaged the landing sites. They tried to call for reinforcements, but human hackers had taken control of their communication systems. You fight without honor, Gorthak screamed at Seong-ho. We do not fight, Seong-ho replied. We eliminate threats. Honor is a luxury that prey species cannot afford. Across the galaxy, the Gorthak Empire was collapsing. 1,000 years of military tradition meant nothing against enemies who had spent 3 weeks learning every detail of Gorthak society. Within 8 months, it was over. The Gorthak homeworld was empty. Their colonies were abandoned. Their military was destroyed. A few thousand Gorthak survivors scattered to distant worlds, but they would never be a threat again. Admiral Woo Jin Lee stood before the Galactic Council to make an announcement. The Gorthak threat has been eliminated, he said calmly. We have prepared educational materials about Gorthak weaknesses and military tactics. These files are being shared with all Council species for future reference. The Council leader asked in a shaking voice. Admiral Woo Jin, you destroyed an entire civilization. How can you call this education? Admiral Woo Jin looked confused by the question. We removed a threat to galactic peace. The information we gathered will help other species defend themselves if similar threats emerge. This is how apex predators maintain ecosystem stability. Sulbin Lee stood up, her fur white with shock. You killed billions of Gorthak. Yes, Admiral Woo Jin agreed. That was the most efficient solution to the problem they created. But they were a sentient species with their own culture and history, Sulbin Lee protested. Admiral Woo Jin thought about this. So were the saber-toothed tigers on Earth. We eliminated them too when they became a threat to human survival. Sentience does not protect you from natural selection. The council chamber was completely silent. Every alien representative understood the message clearly. Humanity was not asking to join their galactic civilization. Humanity was informing them that their galactic civilization now belonged to humanity. The age of apex predators had begun. After the meeting, Sulbin Lee went to the memorial that humans had built for first contact. It was a beautiful structure made of stone and metal. On the front was carved the history of humanity's arrival in the galaxy. But it was not a celebration of friendship between species. It was a detailed database of every civilization's strengths and weaknesses. Every species that had ever existed in the galaxy was listed with complete biological and psychological profiles. At the bottom of the memorial was the final inscription: "History is written by survivors. Warnings are written by apex predators." Sulbin. Lee understood now. This was not a memorial to first contact. It was a warning to future generations of humans. It was a detailed instruction manual for maintaining control over galactic EC.